Steven, if TCU wins a game where they're favored by 21 points against Deion Sanders, do you think this team goes to another national championship?
Whoa, take it easy there.
I mean, I think it would be hopefully a business-like victory that sort of just gives them some affirmation that they're on the right track more than anything else. Sonny Dykes has talked about how he feels like this group actually has more of a chip on their shoulder than last year's team. Last year's team was kind of playing with house money. There weren't high expectations, and maybe there aren't this year as well from a national perspective. I think in-house there are, though, and I also just believe there's a lot of guys that want to prove, hey, that was not a flash in the pan. Obviously didn't put their best foot forward in the biggest game of the year. They endured all the memes, all the ridicule from that national title game and everything that came with it. And so losing to Colorado would definitely ramp up the talk of what a fluky season that was. This team is not really, as good as we thought they were. Sonny Dykes can't continue to build on that. But a win would just be, hey, yeah, you took care of business. You did what you're supposed to do. And now you turn the page and kind of move into the next year.
Kevin, if Colorado wins this game, I'm going to say it for you. If Colorado wins this game, they'll be ranked higher than TCU is currently ranked in next week's poll. The hype around Deion Sanders, if he gets it done with 50-plus transfers against TCU, is going to blow up. What would a win mean for Colorado?
Drake, I have a counter question for you before we go. What does it mean when your girlfriend says nothing is wrong? It means everything, because something is clearly wrong. Yes, 100%. And so if Colorado wins, it means everything. I've talked to recruiting experts. I've talked to recruits. They want to see Colorado succeed. Deion put together a top 25 class in about 5 minutes on the job. What do you think he's going to do if he takes down national powers, national brands like TCU, a ranked team? I think realistically, like you said, Colorado wins this game. They're going to jump into the top 25. Do they deserve it? We'll find out as the season goes on, but they're going to be ranked. They're going to trend more than they already do. I think you look at Twitter or whatever it's called now, Colorado's trending just about every day. They'll be trending even more. And if they lose, we're going to find out how Coach Prime, how this program handles adversity, because they're going to become a meme. And I think it's all like everybody's like, oh, it's fine. It's just a football game. But until the whole social media is clowning on you and kind of taking a, on your program, we don't really know what you're made of. And so it's
a dump, Kevin.
A lot of implications. Correct. A dump. That's what I was talking about. There's a lot of implications for this game. It means a lot for Colorado. They can't let it determine their season, but they need to take advantage of the opportunity they have.
So, Steven, what would a loss then mean for TCU? Because it sounds like for Colorado, it would just be, hey, we lost a game that we were supposed to lose by 3 touchdowns. What does the loss mean for the Horned Frogs?
Well, honestly, I mean, similar to what Kevin said, it would kind of be the first time that Sonny Dykes has experienced real adversity, right? Like, obviously, the national championship game was a bad loss, but that team still played over their heads and got to where they got to a place nobody thought they could. This would be gut check time. Okay, how do you turn the page now? There's some doubters. And I'll tell you one thing about the end of the Gary Patterson era, those teams, like when they started going downhill, they would fold in the tent in a hurry. Like they had some losses to SMU in 2019 and 2021, and that really turned the table on their season, and they couldn't recover from that. And so we would see just sort of, okay, how do you respond now? And I think it would also just, as I said earlier, kind of reaffirm a lot of the negative ideas people had about TCU's season and how they follow up the program. So is it the end of the world, as Kevin said? No, but there's a lot you would have to kind of get through and sift through before you could get off the mat again and hopefully find a way to turn things around.
Kevin, apocalyptic scenario, Colorado wins this football game. This is a lot, obviously. I know you know that, but I need your objective. You're honest. And okay, add a little fan in too. How do these 4 quarters play out? Who wins the game?
I question Colorado's offensive line. I mentioned it earlier. I did a deep dive through their PFF grades, which for the people out there, I don't use analytics as to base my arguments, but I use it as a crush.
Neither does PFF, by the way, but continue.
Yeah, I mean, they have a whole database for it. You think they could try to use it. But realistically, their offense linemen, they all graded mediocre at best. They have a couple good ones. Their second best lineman was just deemed ineligible, which I did this rant on our crossover. The NCAA cares about mental health, apparently. But he had to go transfer to a school where his mental health was free and taken care of, and he's not eligible. but the NCAA cares. Woo. Anyway, the offensive line. And that's my worry. Shedeur Sanders can move, but realistically, how productive is a quarterback always on the run? So I think we'll have big plays. I don't think that's going to be out of the realm of possibility. They have too many athletes to not have big plays, but can they keep up with what TCU will probably be more stable, I guess you could say, with their offense? They're not going to be hucking it around like they did last year, like Steven mentioned, but I think they're going to hit you with that steady and consistent. Slow and steady wins the race, which it's ironic to call Sonny Dykes' offense slow, but Sean Lewis's offense is faster. So it's going to be fast. It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be highlights, but I think there's going to be some major stupid plays to say the least.
So Colorado loses.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a close one. I think they'd cover realistically. I have too many questions about TCU's offense and all the people they lost. Obviously, they brought in good people, but there's a lot of missing pieces or a lot of moving pieces. And so I think Colorado could keep it close. And even if you keep it close, I'm not a moral victories guy, but you kind of have to have something to build off of. So
sweet. All right, Steven Simcox, you just won a close game in Borba's book. What do you think is going to happen on Saturday?
Well, I mean, I think TCU comes out, and Kevin talked about the offense. Funny story real quick. Chandler Morris was on 3 podcast recently, and he said his dad, Chad Morris, and Drake, I'm sorry, I know you have some Arkansas roots, and that name might make you bristle a little bit.
That guy's the worst.
Yeah. Well, he was there at practice, and he was apparently asking Chandler, was like, how do you guys line up so fast? So if Chad Morris is impressed with the speed of your offense, I think both these teams are going to go fast, and the game might end in 3 hours because it's a stupid clock rule now that the clock doesn't stop after first downs, but both these teams are going to try to maximize and get as many plays as possible. But TCU, if they get it done, I feel like, as I said earlier, they played a clean game. They kind of imposed their will, especially in the running game. They churned out yards on the ground. They limited Colorado's possessions, and they took advantage of an O-line that's in flux and got to the quarterback and made plays. I can see a game where it's close in the first half, for the first few quarters, as the teams are kind of feeling each other out. But I just think ultimately the depth of this team that TCU has is going to take over. Frogs win, Frogs cover. Deion is mad in the press conference afterwards, and we continue to march right along into the season.
Deion quits his job, goes somewhere else. Yeah, has a tirade. Guys, thanks for joining the show today. Kevin, welcome to the Big 12. Welcome back to the Big 12.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here. I'm glad to be along this journey. I'm glad to watch football so people can stop asking me how good this team with 50 new players is.
It's back. Steven, thank you for going to a national championship. We will full stop it right there. You guys made the game.
That's right, and nothing else happened. Actually, I think the season ended after the Michigan game. That was how it was in my personal record.
They accidentally canceled the national championship because of weather.
Hate to see it.
Yeah. Guys, thanks again for joining Kevin Borba. Go follow him, Locked On Buffs. That is TCU, Locked On Horned Frogs, Steven Simcox. Saturday, football. It's all back tomorrow. This has been It Always Will Be. Come back on Monday. We'll recap the whole weekend on Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Doce Grande.